All right, so let's dive into something pretty fascinating today.
Okay.
Angels.
Yeah.
You know, those beings we often picture with harps and halos, especially around Christmas time.
Right.
But what if I told you those images are actually pretty far off from how angels are described in the Bible?
Hmm.
We're going to be looking specifically at the cherubim and seraphim today.
Oh,
And trust me, the biblical descriptions are mind-blowing, to say the least.
yeah, it's remarkable how much our modern perception of angels has been shaped by artistic interpretations over the centuries.
Right.
You know, when we go back to the source material of the Bible, we encounter these beings that are far more complex
Yeah.
and even a bit unsettling in some cases.
Yeah, and we've got a great article here titled The Appearance of Cherubim and Seraphim, a biblical study that really digs into these descriptions,
Yeah.
plus some interesting blog posts and comments that add even more layers to the mystery.
For sure.
So get ready to decode these ancient texts with us, separate the biblical facts from centuries of artistic license.
Yeah, and I think by understanding how these beings were depicted in ancient texts,
Yeah.
we can gain a deeper appreciation for the way that the divine was perceived in those times.
Right.
A power that inspired both awe and reverence, and sometimes even a healthy dose of fear.
Okay, let's start with the cherubim.
Yeah.
The most detailed account we have comes from the book of Ezekiel,
Right.
a prophet who had some seriously intense visions.
For sure.
Ezekiel 1.5 throws us right into one of these visions describing 4 living creatures.
Okay.
Sounds pretty normal, right?
Yeah.
But hold on, because these creatures are later revealed to be cherubim
Oh, wow.
and their appearance.
Yeah.
Well, let's just say it's not what you'd find on a Christmas card.
I was going to say those little chubby babies with wings.
Yeah.
Not quite.
Not quite.
The prophet Ezekiel is known for these very vivid, often symbolic visions.
Right.
And his descriptions of the cherubim are some of the most striking in the entire Bible.
Yeah.
They really challenge our preconceived notions of what heavenly beings should look like.
Yeah. I'm trying to picture this in my head. Each cherubim has 4 faces.
Okay.
Human, lion, ox, and eagle.
Wow.
It's like someone took all the most powerful creatures and just like mashed them together.
Yeah, a strange hybrid.
And that's not all. They
Okay.
have 4 wings,
Hmm.
a human-like form, but with calf-like feet that are described as gleaming like burnished bronze.
Wow.
It's a truly bizarre combination of the familiar and the utterly alien.
Yeah.
What do you make of this strange mix of animal and human characteristics?
Oh, it's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
It suggests a being that transcends earthly categories,
Right.
a fusion of power intelligence,
Right.
and perhaps even a hint of the primal
Mm.
and the gleaming bronze feet.
Yeah.
That detail evokes a sense of strength permanence, almost like unyielding foundations.
And it gets even wilder.
Okay.
In Ezekiel 10.8, he drops another bombshell. These cherubim are covered in eyes.
What?
I can't help but think about how that detail is usually left out of those cute cherub paintings, right?
Right. It's a detail that's often overlooked or downplayed in artistic depictions.
Yeah.
But in the biblical text, it's a central feature,
Yeah.
and one that likely had profound significance.
Right.
It suggests a being with all-encompassing vision, aware of everything happening around it.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what those eyes were seeing
Mm-hmm.
and what it meant for those who encountered them.
You know, it's interesting. Later in Ezekiel 41.18, there's another description of cherubim guarding the temple.
Mm.
But this time they only have 2 faces,
Okay.
a man and a lion.
Interesting.
So now we have these inconsistencies, which makes me wonder,
Yeah.
do they have a fixed appearance?
Right.
Or maybe there are different types of cherubim with different forms and functions.
That inconsistency is actually one of the most intriguing aspects of these descriptions.
Right.
It raises the possibility of a hierarchy within the angelic realm, perhaps with different ranks or specializations based on their appearance.
Yeah.
It also reminds us that these beings, while powerful and awe-inspiring, are not easily categorized or confined to rigid definitions.
Yeah.
And this concept of variation becomes even more intriguing when we look at another book of the Bible, Revelation.
Okay. So we've got these cherubims with their multiple faces and bronze feet and eyes everywhere.
Right.
It's a pretty wild image.
Yeah.
But then we come to the book of Revelation,
Okay.
which is known for its apocalyptic imagery and visions of the end times.
Right.
And in Revelation 4, we encounter another set of 4 creatures that share some striking similarities with the cherubim,
Okay.
but with a key difference.
All right.
They have 6 wings instead of 4.
The book of Revelation is full of symbolism and enigmatic figures.
Right.
And these 4 creatures are among the most debated.
Yeah.
They're described as being around the throne of God, constantly praising him.
Okay.
One is like a lion, another like an ox, one with a human face, and another resembling an eagle.
It does sound familiar.
Yeah.
It definitely echoes those cherubim descriptions from Ezekiel. But those 6 wings throw a wrench into the works.
Wow.
So are we looking at cherubim with a slightly different wing count?
Hmm.
Or are these creatures something else entirely?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And it's one that has puzzled theologians and scholars for centuries.
Right.
The text itself doesn't explicitly identify these creatures as cherubim. And this ambiguity is precisely what makes them so fascinating.
Yeah.
It allows for multiple interpretations
Right.
and invites us to engage in a deeper exploration of the text.
It's like a divine puzzle, right? We
Yeah.
have these clues that point towards cherubim, but then those 6 wings add another layer of mystery.
Right.
It makes you wonder if there's a connection to the seraphim,
Yeah.
who also have 6 wings, as we'll see in a bit.
It's great observation.
Yeah.
And it's important to remember that in ancient texts, especially those dealing with the divine,
Right.
symbolism is often layered and multifaceted. A single detail, like the number of wings, can hold multiple meanings and invite deeper contemplation.
Okay, so we've got these mysterious 4 creatures.
Right.
Possibly cherubim, possibly something else.
Right.
But now let's shift gears and focus on the seraphim.
Okay.
These angels have their own unique and equally bizarre description in the Bible.
They do, Boo.
They're often called the burning ones, which hints at their association with purifying fire.
We find the most detailed account of the seraphim in the book of Isaiah.
Okay.
Specifically Isaiah 6.1-7.
Mm-hmm.
The prophet Isaiah describes having a vision of the Lord seated on a throne high and exalted,
Right.
with these seraphim attending him.
Okay.
And unlike the cherubim, which are often associated with guarding sacred spaces,
Right.
the seraphim seem to have a more direct role in praising and serving God.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And just like those mysterious creatures from Revelation, the seraphim also have 6 wings.
Yes.
But there's one crucial detail that sets them apart. They use 2 wings to cover their faces, 2 to cover their feet,
Wow.
and 2 to fly.
Okay.
It's almost like they're shielding themselves from the sheer power and holiness of God's presence.
That's a beautiful observation.
Yeah.
And it speaks to the idea that even these powerful angelic beings
Right.
recognize their own limitations and unworthiness in the face of the divine. The act of covering their faces and feet could be seen as a gesture of humility, reverence,
Yeah.
or even a recognition of the overwhelming glory of God.
It's a stark contrast to the cherubim with their eyes everywhere, almost like they're meant to see everything.
Exactly.
And here's another detail that often gets lost in translation. The seraphim aren't described as having multiple faces or being covered in eyes like the cherubim.
That's right.
And this distinction is important because it highlights the unique roles and characteristics of these different types of angels.
Yes.
While the cherubim seem to emphasize all-encompassing knowledge and guardianship,
Right.
the seraphim focus on purity, worship, and service.
Aye.
Okay, now I know what you might be thinking.
Okay.
Wait a minute. I have seen images of angels with 6 wings, tons of eyes. What's going on here?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And you'd be right to be confused.
Right.
It seems like those eyes often get mistakenly attributed to the seraphim. But that imagery likely stems from those ambiguous 4 creatures in Revelation.
Exactly. The visual representation of angels, especially in art, has become a fascinating blend of biblical descriptions and creative interpretation. Over time, details have been mixed and matched, leading to a fusion of imagery that doesn't always align with the original texts.
It's like a game of telephone where the message gets distorted as it's passed along.
Yeah, I like that.
And this is where things get really interesting, because the Bible doesn't give us a definitive answer on the identity of those 4 creatures in Revelation.
Right.
Are they cherubim, seraphim, or something else entirely?
It's open to interpretation.
And that openness to interpretation is what makes the study of angels so captivating. It challenges us to delve into the text, consider different perspectives, and form our own conclusions based on the evidence presented.
I agree.
The author of our main article believes those 4 creatures are likely cherubim.
Okay.
Based on the similarities with Ezekiel's visions, the 4 faces the eyes covering their bodies.
Right.
But then again, there are those 6 wings.
It's a puzzle that invites us to look beyond the surface and grapple with the deeper meaning behind these descriptions.
Right.
It's a reminder that even within sacred texts, there's room for mystery and ambiguity.
Yeah.
And perhaps that's part of the allure. It encourages us to engage in a process of exploration and discovery, recognizing that our understanding of the divine is constantly evolving.
Now, before we wrap up, I wanted to touch on some of the comments we found on this article.
Okay.
They offer a fascinating glimpse into how people today interpret these ancient descriptions and how they relate to their own personal experiences. One commenter mentioned seeing what they believe were angels, describing them as live energy or souls being born.
Wow.
It's a completely different visual than the biblical descriptions, but it speaks to how diverse and personal these angelic encounters can be.
Yeah, it's a fascinating point, isn't it?
Yeah.
It highlights the idea that our understanding of the spiritual realm is often shaped by personal experiences and cultural perspectives.
For sure.
What one person perceives as an angel might be interpreted differently by another.
Right.
And it reminds us that the language of the divine is often metaphorical and symbolic.
Yeah.
Open to a range of interpretations.
Another commenter talked about feeling protected by angels, which connects to that traditional idea of angels as guardians and messengers.
Yeah.
It seems that even with these wild biblical descriptions, the core concept of angels as benevolent beings still resonates with people today.
Absolutely. The idea angels as protectors and guides has deep roots in many spiritual traditions.
Yeah.
It speaks to a fundamental human need for comfort, guidance, and a sense of connection to something greater than ourselves.
Yeah.
And while the specific imagery might vary, that underlying message of hope and support remains consistent.
We also saw a comment that directly referenced a passage about cherubim from 2 Chronicles.
Okay.
It described how they were made for the house of God, emphasizing their role within sacred spaces.
Interesting. This highlights the importance of considering the context in which these descriptions appear.
Right.
We need to remember that the Bible was written over centuries.
Yeah.
In different languages and cultural settings.
Right.
So understanding the historical and cultural background of these texts can shed light on their meaning and significance.
Yeah. So we've got these ancient descriptions of cherubim and seraphim, bizarre and awe-inspiring in their own right.
Right.
And then we have these personal accounts that add another layer to the conversation.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that our understanding of angels is constantly evolving, shaped by both ancient texts and modern experiences.
It's a fascinating journey of discovery.
Yeah.
And one that doesn't have a definitive endpoint. The study of angels invites us to keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep expanding our understanding of the spiritual realm.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
From Ezekiel's wild visions to those mysterious creatures in Revelation to those intriguing personal accounts.
Right.
But I think the biggest question remains, why were these powerful, sometimes even scary images used to describe beings associated with the divine?
It's a question that has captivated thinkers and theologians for centuries.
Right.
Perhaps it's about conveying the otherness of the divine, a power so vast and incomprehensible that it defies our human attempts at categorization.
It definitely challenges those cute and cuddly angel images we're used to seeing.
It does.
Makes you think twice about those holiday decorations, right?
It certainly does, but in that challenge, there's an opportunity for deeper understanding.
Right.
By embracing the complexity and mystery of these beings, we can develop a richer and more nuanced appreciation for the spiritual realm and its impact on our lives.
So ditch those hallmark cherubs. Biblical angels are bizarre, multi-faced, and possibly covered in eyeballs.
It's true. Yeah.
Really makes you see those cute baby angels a little differently, huh?
It challenges our assumptions and encourages us to look beyond the surface.
Yeah.
To delve into that rich tapestry of symbolism and meaning woven into these ancient texts.
And as you explore, consider this.
Okay.
Why do you think these specific images were chosen? What do they tell us about the beliefs and values of those who wrote these texts?
Right.
And how do they continue to shape our understanding of angels today?
It's an ongoing conversation, a journey of exploration that can enrich our understanding of the divine, ourselves, and the enduring power of spiritual imagery.
It's a fascinating journey, and we encourage you to keep digging, keep questioning, and keep exploring the mysteries of the divine. Until next time, keep diving deep.